Good morning, Sabbatical and Soul Shift. So I'm coming in today to finish answering some questions that I didn't get to yesterday during our live integration ceremony, which, if you're new, I added that after I created Soul Shift because I realized that that was something that was missing in previous years of my classes, which was a chance to dialogue about what's coming up for you, about your journeys, but also, beyond the journeys too, right? A lot of the questions I'm going to be answering today don't really have a lot to do with the journey, but they're still relevant, to the work that we're doing. And so what I try to do is answer as many as I can live without rushing through, because what's the point, and then follow up here with an audio that's completely optional. So if you're super busy and this isn't interesting to you, you will not hurt my feelings. But some of you do like extra wisdom, extra insight. And so that's what this is for. Designed to make sure that those of you I didn't get to yesterday do really feel like you were seen and heard. So I definitely covered off on Becky Naylor's question about taking responsibility for the energy that you bring into those spaces. And I would say we probably went maybe too far on that topic, but maybe not, because it's definitely something that comes up over and over again. And I do think that you have to be considerate when you're in a space full of empaths who are easily overwhelmed energetically. And really, like I said during our live meeting yesterday, really take responsibility for the articulation of your needs. You got to help the people in your life help you. And so part of that is getting as specific as you can about what you need. And that'll make it easier to be able to assist when you need the help as well. We talked about Amy's question about pain during journey and looking at lineage lines, ancestry lines. Heidi Cruz asked, when we finally step into our power of being alone, healed, worthy, and complete, where and what do we do next? I'm just sitting in it at the moment. So I've often thought about writing a blog on this topic. Every time I sit down to do it, something else pulls me away. So I figured the timing isn't right yet, but it's a fantastic question. And what I want to tell you is it's cyclical. I think I catch a lot of people off guard when I tell them that, I still have work to do, right? I think they look at me and say, oh, well, you're a teacher. Don't you reach some, I don't know what they think, but some level where you don't have any work to do? And it's like, as long as you're human and you're living on this planet with other humans, as my teacher used to say, the work continues. That was his mantra. Beautiful man with a Buddhist practice that I really admired, but people used to ask him things like that because he almost seemed like, an ascended master. He was so wise, and people would say, so do you have work to do? And he would always smile and say, the work continues. So that's my answer to you, Heidi, the work continues. And then what you get are these really cool practice opportunities. And then what you get is a report card from the universe, oh, okay, well, you did good over there, but hey, over here, looks like you still have to do some diligence. So anyway, I fall down and get back up. But you know what? Every time I fall down, I get a little less bruised. I'll tell you, one of the things you have to look out for is that a lot of people who do their healing work start to feel like life is kind of boring because they have peace of mind. I get into that place sometimes because I really do have a lot of peace of mind in my life right now. And sometimes it can feel like boredom. You have to watch out for that. You have to remember, happiness is not the goal. Peace is the goal. And so, but if you think happiness is the goal, then you're going to think peace is boredom. Sit with that for a minute. Because then what empaths will do is they'll get bored and they'll start, sticking their finger in stuff and stirring pots. And it's like, I mean, really? The universe is serving you peace on a platter and you're like, yeah, but anyway, watch out for that. Not you, Heidi Cruz, but just everybody. You know what I mean? If you've got some peace, then hallelujah. That's something to really celebrate. Elizabeth Krinicki was asking about never noticing messages during journey with visual or auditory signals like other people have, and should she be worried about this, and how can she increase the likelihood of having a vision? I'll tell you, Elizabeth, I wasn't very clairvoyant until I started doing medicine work, which was about, almost 6 years ago now. So yeah, 5-6 years ago now. When I really started to do like multi-year journeys with plant teachers. That kind of, some people get like the switch flipped on, and that's definitely, I had seen bits and pieces, but not like I do now. And so that's one way in, but it's not the only way in. I think one of the things you have to look out for, Elizabeth, shouldn't be worried about anything ever, really, when you think about it, but definitely not this. What that tells me is you have another clairability. You could be clairsentient, so you feel everything, but you don't see it. You could be clairallient. You smell everything, but you don't see or feel. You could be clairgustant. You get a taste in your mouth, right? So these are other clairabilities that are not voyant or audient, but they're still very important gifts. My mom has a soul gift of being an automatic writer. So if she goes into trance and she puts her left hand on paper, then she creates the proper container. Spirit writes through her. That's a gift, right? And it's funny because my mom's gift was writing, and so is mine. I channel when I write. She's not a writer, but she's gifted in her own way. She's not a trained writer, I should say, but I think she's a natural writer, and it's probably a good chunk of where I get my gifts too. Try writing, and people say, I don't like to write, but it's like, write a poem. And don't tell yourself you have to write a poem, because then you'll overthink it. Like, if you're friends with me on Facebook, and I try to make them public, so even if you're not, you can see. I don't do it all the time, but like once a month or so I write a poem, and it's channeled, and it's like 3 or 4 words a line. And I don't worry about punctuation. Like, stop putting so many rules on your creativity, and you'll see it really rise and shine. It's when we sit down and go, this shit's got to be perfect, that it's like nobody wants to do that. I think I spoke to Roxy's question about her crown slipping, right? And about getting back to sovereignty and really getting into a place of curiosity, Roxy. We talked a lot yesterday about the power of curiosity and how it actually activates the dopamine center in your brain, which is the desire center, which connects you to your passion and opens the sacral chakra. And so it's all kind of related. I also spoke to Amy's question about prosperity. So Danielle was asking, I have a top of mind question regarding the use of sound healing. She's wondering, she only feels things up to her throat. So she's wondering if that's a bottleneck for her, if that means she has a blockage. And my intuitive hit back for you, Danielle, was, I don't think it's a blockage. I think it's an invitation to focus. Have you considered that? And it's 2 different ways of looking at the same thing, right? Like, is it a challenge or is it a gift? I don't know. Just felt like maybe it was a focus area for you. Mercedes de la Cruz was asking about healing. And she was saying, when we are journeying and our guides are helping us see and aiding us with healing, basically, do all parts of the soul benefit from healing a single part of the soul or a trauma or a conflict? And if we have alternate forms of ourselves that reside in other dimensions, will they also reap the benefits of the work that you're doing? And I think Mercedes, it depends on how you look at consciousness, right? So my answer to you would be, I think everybody benefits from everything. I think I benefit when you heal. So if I benefit, I would say the chances are very good that all parts of you are benefiting. Past, present, future, child you, crone you, next life you, past life you, down the grandmother line, down the grandfather line, and out 6-7 generations ahead of you. So that's my 2 cents. If you believe in a unified field of consciousness, which is what I'm trying to propose exists in my teaching to you this year, then in that beautiful unified field of consciousness where all things are connected across this web of space and time, the whole world benefits when you rise up. And that's why, ideas of like, sometimes we talk about, like shitty pickles and shitty people and competition and jealousy and all that stuff. And it's like, you see that less and less as people do their work, because they're like, I honestly want people to have everything that they want, as long as it serves the highest good, right? Because if people have what they want, then they're going to radiate that joy into their lives, and then that's going to ripple out to the little bees buzzing around my garden. You know what I mean? Like, but that's my personal worldview. So that's why I give you that caveat, Mercedes, because it could be that like maybe you see consciousness differently and you don't necessarily, buy into that philosophy, in which case, which is fine. It's kind of how I live my life. And then Dawn Armijo was asking generational healing versus her own. And she had a really interesting comment about, she thought she was native. Turns out she's pure Spanish, like no mestiza in there at all, right? And so now she feels like she's struggling with being the granddaughter of murderers and rapists, like a sort of a Spanish lineage. I've moved past my own trauma, but the guilt of the past weighs heavily. Yeah, so, the way I look at it, like, okay, so I descend from some pretty intense lineages too. We all do. I mean, look, I guarantee you, if I pull back the curtain on all your past lives, you're not going to be so proud of everything that you did. Okay. Where are you going to put your attention and your intention? If you're here to lift up your lineage and finally do the healing work and send that medicine down the line, which is why I think you're here, then let it go. We all came from some fucked up shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you're never going to know the totality. What if you had a beautiful healing life in Spain in a past life, and you already did that work and you already healed a lot of that generation? I mean, and again, because I believe in this unified field of consciousness, I don't think you can separate your lineage work from your personal work. And so it's all in this big cauldron of soup together, and send it a sweet blessing and focus on what you're doing here and now. When you start spending too much time in the lineage, it can anchor you, and there's a lot of shadow in the lineage lines. Think of it as like clogged pipes, and you can get trapped in there. I've seen it happen to people before. Sometimes it's like overly seductive too. Like you get drawn back into lineage stuff. I think that's why ancestry is so interesting for people, but there's everything in moderation, right? Like sometimes I see people get almost addicted to it. And my perspective on it more and more is like, does it matter? I mean, it's good to know where you came from and give a nod to it and send medicine to it. But this idea of like kind of tethering into and like, I don't know, getting bound up in that, I would caution all of us not to maybe do that as much. Be here now, So Jerica, and trust, let me say this too, Dawn, be here now and trust that what you're doing now is exactly the work that needs to be done to heal the lineage in the way that it's meant to be healed in this here and now moment, and let it go. That's the path to peace. So Jerica is working on being in clean relationships. She said she's struggling with whether she needs to lay it all out, digging up some past wounds, or just step forward from today on. I feel like dragging things up may only serve me, is not for the highest good of us both. Okay, I have a really strong opinion on this, and I'm really glad that you asked it, Jerica, so thank you for the question. Thank all of you for the questions, by the way, because I'll tell you something. As a teacher, when I see all of you asking these really deep questions, I teared up yesterday. You don't have to spend the time writing questions and thinking so thoughtfully about your journey at all. You don't have to dig in so deeply to these classes. You don't have to show up to the work. So I just want to really send a huge blessing out to all of you. Even if you didn't ask a question, you're probably holding something. And hopefully something I'm saying is resonating with you. Like I kind of trust the timing. Here's my really strong feeling about this, Jerica, and for any of you who are thinking about this. Every time you relive a trauma, you physically relive it. And it activates all kinds of, like, even potential illness energies in your body. I believe in going in and doing some cleaning and some diligence. I don't believe in reliving trauma or traumatic circumstances, or, like, to use your words, digging out past wounds. I don't believe in that a lot. Again, it depends on what your beliefs are. If you believe, as a lot of people do, that you have to really hash and rehash and hash and rehash, and that's kind of the basis of like talk therapy in this century too, right? Like, let's go to somebody every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. and keep talking about our shit. And then maybe one day we'll feel better about it. And then we're like 10 years in and thousands of dollars in, because therapy is way more expensive than Soul Shift, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but the therapy, I have had to like take out debt, 10 years ago to have a couple of months of therapy. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And I stopped going. I was like, I can't do this. And then at the end of it, she was like, well, I think you should be on an antidepressant. And I was like, really? So now I dug all this shit up and my body was aching. It's like, because, as you start to relive all this stuff, then your body's reliving it. And of course, fast forward and it's like, you live and you learn. And I'm not saying that talk therapy doesn't work for some people, but it did not work for me. And, it's like, and I also think that antidepressants work for a lot of people, but if I had known that that was going to be the recommendation at the end of the day, I would have just, it's like, why did we do all this work? My philosophy is go in and do some healing. Do the blue room meditation, right? Or if you really feel like you need to have the conversation with somebody, have the conversation. But I think going to somebody and in service of trying to create a clean relationship, just hashing things through and saying, you did this, I did that, and my part was this, and you need to, it's like, I don't know. I'm getting to the point in my evolution, in my own awareness, that I just don't think that's necessary. I think it can all be energetic. And then I think you have to decide what's going to be acceptable for you in relationship. And then you have to go through and figure out which relationships in your life can align to that model. And then you have to hold the line too. And because what you tolerate is what persists. With kids, with partners, with everybody in your life, what you tolerate is what persists. And you teach people how to be in relationship with you. And I've learned to say things like, what's happening doesn't feel right, accurate to me. What's happening doesn't feel good to me. It's sticky. It's, you know what I mean? And my family knows now when I say, oh, that's sticky, they're like, ooh, it's sticky. You can even entrain people around you like, yeah, you know what? Because people intuitively know what that means. Like, ooh, sticky, there's something off, right? And the more you trust your intuition, but I don't do the whole, like, now we're going to sit down and we're going to hash this out. Like, for example, with my mother, right? For me, being in clean relationship with my mother doesn't mean that we heal everything from the past. It's not going to happen in this lifetime because she's not even open to it. But what it does mean is I have pretty decent energetic boundaries with her, and I interact with her in a really positive way. My intention is to have a positive interaction with her. And if it starts to feel not positive, I excuse myself and move into a different space or leave or say I have to go. And that keeps it really clean. But I'm the one who's managing that because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to manage my relationships. It's not her responsibility to read my mind and go, oh, is that okay? Or, no, it's like me saying, you know what, this doesn't feel good. So I'm going to move on now and be okay with that. Katie was cute. She said, do you have any questions for us? I'm always curious for feedback. So I guess that's a question for you. I consistently look at what's going on in the world. I read, books that are coming out on the topics related to what we do. And I still feel like Soul Shift is hitting people at their learning edge, which is my goal. So I guess my question for you would be, is there anything else that you need from me at this time? My holidays were beautiful. Thank you for asking, by the way, too. Let's see. We talked about entrainment and sound healing yesterday, too. So Lisa Petrini was asking about journey work. She said, sometimes I slip right in. Sometimes it's like no matter what I do, I'm not making lift off. Is there anything else I can do to make it easier? Could you expand on not giving our power away? Her son has seizures, and she feels really intensely during them. And sometimes she gives her power away, but she feels like when she keeps her power, she feels a stronger connection to the divine and to her son. And so it does make sense to me, Lisa. And I think it's also about how you're framing giving your power away or keeping your power. It's find your center and stay there. And each one of us has a different centering capacity and mechanism, at least in my experience. You know what I mean? But find something that anchors you and try to connect to it every single day. Being in nature anchors me. Reminding myself that everything is okay in this moment, because it is, anchors me. Being grateful anchors me. Grateful for what I have. And so for me, that's staying in my power. And so as long as I'm in that, and I also, when I'm doing healing work, as you're working with your son, I also try to constantly remember it's through me, not of me. And that will allow you to be more present. It's like when healers think that they're like the pressure's on and they got to do something and is it going to work or whatever, that's very stressful. And that does cause you to give your power away, or at least to question your power. Your power isn't, you're not doing the healing. Your power is that you're holding a tight container for healing to occur, and that you're creating a good, clean, and open channel for healing energies to pass through. And that is a gift. Not everybody can hold that space. You have to have a really high personal vibration to be able to do that. And so for me, it's constantly like, where's my vibration today? Where's my frequency today? How can I raise it, align it, attune it, keep it high and clear? You know what I mean? So it's like not getting mired down. I turned on the news this morning for all of 5 minutes and I was like, nope. Because I mean, that interrupts my ability to be a good, clear, and open channel. And I'm not here to watch the news. That's not why I'm on this planet. I'm here to help people. So it's not helping people. So you can ask yourself too, like, is what I'm doing right now helping me be a good, clear, and open channel? Nope. Okay, I'm going to do something else. But hopefully there's some guidance in there that can support you. Diane Crowell was saying that she doesn't understand what her past lives were and what her goal to mission is for this life by looking at her birth chart. Simple answer to that, Diane. You're going to look to your north node to help you know what your dharma is, your calling, your purpose in this lifetime, the thing to which you should be devoted. Okay, my north node's in Capricorn. I'm here to achieve some measure of professional success in my identity, which relates to my Chiron wound, which relates to, and then your south node is, they say it's your karma. So your north node's your dharma, your south node's your karma. Your south node is what you were here doing last time, your last lifetime right before this one. And that's your trap. So if you find yourself doing too much south node stuff, then you know you're not doing enough north node stuff, because usually they're incompatible. Like my south node's in Cancer, so I always say as soon as I'm mothering somebody, I'm off track. So I'm not here to be people's mom. I'm here to inspire people and lead people in a good direction. And so hopefully that's helpful for you. Focus on your north and south node for that, for past life and insight. And then Maz said, I feel like I've worked on my sacral chakra this month in terms of connecting fully to what I desire. I'm sure this long-term blockage is linked to my lack of prosperity. I'm just wondering how do we know if we've completely cleared an issue or chakra? Let's see. No, it's a really good question. Again, that is a process. And what I find is as long as you're still really conscious of a blockage, it's not cleared yet. Seems like a really simple answer to your question. I kind of feel like I should say something else. But I think that's it. Prosperity blockages, my friends. You may think consciously like, nope, I'm good. I've got my altar in the southeast. I believe I am worthy of prosperity. I believe prosperity is already on its way to me. But then when I open your Pandora's box, the subconscious is like, nope. And sometimes you're not aware of the extent to which your subconscious narrative is in conflict with your conscious narrative. And that's a big deal. I want you to sit with that for a little bit. Angie Spencer said, this month was just my second month, so this may have been answered before. Don't worry about that, girl. Always ask the question, because you're not the only one who's new. And frankly, my memory isn't as good as it was in my 20s, so I kind of like it when people repeat things to me. Hopefully you feel the same way. She said, last month her journey was very visual. This month was very out of body. Her arms were numb, fingers are tingly. She felt like she just couldn't connect before that, before the sound bath. The deeper tones gave me a rush. The lighter brought me back. My heart raced at times. Finally, had a good cry at the end when returning to my normal state of consciousness was kind of trippy. Is this a normal thing to have such diverse experiences? The answer is yes. And she said, I know the answer is yes, but I feel like there's more to it than just yes. There is. It's really interesting to me because every journey I've ever had has been different. And the minute I go in with an expectation, it's almost like spirit guides enjoy throwing you off course of your expectations. You got to let go of expectations. The mantra is you're going to have the journey you need, not the journey you want. And sometimes it needs to be a body journey, and sometimes it needs to be a mind journey, and sometimes it needs to be a soul journey. And those can feel really different. And so I'm really glad you asked the question, because I'm sure there's multiple people who are like, why is it so different every time? Even if, like, ayahuasca every time is different. San Pedro every time is different. Even when you're working with a plant, right? It's like every time it's different. Because you're different. You're coming to it with different barnacles, right? Like different shit that gets attached to you between your journeys. They always say that the first 5 or 10 minutes of a spiritual journey is sloughing off the dead skin, because so much happens since your last journey, even if your last journey was a week ago, because you're human and you live on the planet Earth, that you have to slough that off before you can even get to the deeper layers. And so Candace asked, she's quit smoking in 2015. God bless you, girl. She said she's started and stopped randomly ever since. Would love to hear some insight from you on this. During a live reading, I mentioned that smoking is related to secret keeping. She sat with that. The only thing she can come up with is she struggles with allowing herself to be seen. So smoking is a way of consciously slowing down the throat chakra. And there can be a lot of different reasons for that. Not wanting to be seen, not wanting to be heard. Again, subconsciously, right? Consciously, you could be thinking, what is that woman talking about? I'm all good. And again, it's the subconscious a lot of times that we're battling. That's what people don't realize. You have 2 fronts that you're working on right now. The conscious you, which hopefully is doing great, and the subconscious you, which is probably like, wait a minute, what? I don't want to change that. Why? We're not going to talk about that. And again, the lineage. A lot of people keep secrets for their lineage, and almost every highly addicted smoker I've ever known has been a highly creative, empathic person who comes from a lineage where people don't communicate. It's just what I've noticed. I've never been called to smoke. Like, I have other vices, but I've never been called to smoke. And it's like, but I don't have a throat chakra blockage. I just don't. Like, I'll tell you anything. I'll probably tell you more than you want to know. So it just depends on that perspective. But I think the more you can dialogue with your inner child and your higher self and give everything permission to be open, clear, and expressed, it's like really treat that addiction at the root of it, which isn't really about smoking. It's about what smoking clouds. Think about a puff of smoke, right? Like it occludes, it hides, it falsifies. And so that's just my perspective on smoking. My mom has struggled to quit, and it almost killed her. I mean, she's got like long-term, very disabling COPD that has exacerbated her arthritis. And I mean, the woman suffers, and she still won't stop smoking because she still hasn't handled her shit. I'm not going to tell her that. I have a don't ask, don't tell policy when it comes to this stuff and my family. If people come to me and ask for help, great, all day long. If they don't ask for help, I have a don't ask, don't tell policy, which might sound kind of funny, but I'm not here to convince people, persuade people, change people, fix people, proselytize to people. Like, that's not my bag. Again, if you call me and say, look, I'm really struggling, it's like, okay, I've got 10 things I can tell you. But if you're like, I'm struggling, and it's like, okay, well, I wish you well. It's like, I'm not here for that. I think Mariel was asking about trudging through the shit. We talked about that yesterday too. Some suggestions for that. Angela Rain was talking about clean relationships too, and she likes to lay everything on the table, but she said some people don't seem authentic and honest with her. And when people lie to her, it triggers her. Keep in mind, people are in relationship with you from their personal level development. And this is like big medicine for a lot of us, myself included. I have to keep reminding myself that person isn't there yet. And when people are not honest with you or communicative or don't reciprocate in relationship, it's because there's not a vibrational match. And you can keep barking up that tree, again, to use one of my grandmother-isms. But why would you do that? Like, there's so many people who are a vibrational match for you. I have gotten to the point, again, at 45, going on 46 here, I don't waste my time. I am not here to be in relationship with everybody. I'm not here to convince people that crystals work. I'm not here to, put on a show. Like, I'm here to do healing work with people who are in vibrational resonance with me. And that's how I know I'm meant to work with somebody. But, it's like, if expecting authenticity and honesty from people is going to drain you. Some people don't have it to give you. They don't want to give it to you. And they're doing the best they can from their current level of personal development. And that has to be good enough. That's, again, my 2 cents. Tara's asking about connecting with spirit guides. Is she missing something? Keep in mind that how spirit guides communicate with you is sometimes through a private message that someone sends you on Facebook, or, just a thought that passes through your mind when you're out playing with your kids in the backyard, or, it's like, it's the little nudges. Go do this. Have you asked this? Go watch this. You should stop there. You should talk to her. Spirit guides, in my experience, don't descend from the ceiling of your room in a big thunderbolt and display themselves for you. And a lot of spirit guides are in pure spirit form, so they don't have a way of actually manifesting in a visual way. So you have to listen for the insight and the wisdom that comes in the way that it does. We're doing good. I hope this is helpful and interesting for you guys. Robin was asking, because she said her question's about journeying. It's difficult for her. My mind is relaxed. I use the teas, the herbs, the work, still nothing. Not feeling connected to spirit guides. So, Robin, what I would tell you is go slow. Go slow. Do you know what I mean? And by go slow, it can take 10 years to really get to a place where you feel like you've found your zone. And I have some days where I can't do it. You know what I mean? There's too much going on. And like you, I try the best I can, because you've been meditating for years. But what I would tell you is sometimes we have expectations of what we're going to experience in a journey. And those expectations don't line up with the experience of the journey itself. Now, I'm guessing you haven't worked with plant medicine. That is one way to really have a very deep and profound experience. And we're at a place now in the U.S. where it's almost possible to find resources to do that easily, right? I live in LA, but there's a lot of people in small towns and cities who have local folks who are doing medicine work. And what I found is once you do that, that opens up new neural pathways, and it really does expand your access to gifts even when you're not doing it anymore, even if you never did it again. So that's one option for you too, is to look into that, especially if you're struggling. But I would tell you, work with incense more is one of my pieces of wisdom for you. I feel like scent is an important sense for you, and because I see teas and stuff like that, but what I'm seeing for you is start burning some of the older resins, the myrrhs, the copals. What else am I getting for you? Mugwort would be good for you. I don't know if you've worked with Boom Shiva, but it's got buchu and mugwort and a couple of these ingredients in it. But even just starting with the super basics, myrrh and copal. And try burning it every day. I burn copal every day. And I really think it is part of the secret to my practice. And when I don't burn it now, my family's like, you didn't burn it today, did you? I don't smell it. Because they like it too. And Sylvia asked, other than daily orgasms, how do we embody the juicy mango vibe all the time? I will tell you, it's really hard to be the juicy mango all the time. But what I try to do is really spend time in gratitude for my body. I try to do things for myself that make me feel beautiful and spend time doing those things when I can. However busy you are, I'm just as busy. Like, I am a very busy person, but I still try to take the time because I think it's important. I've also really communicated with my husband too. Like, you know what? This is kind of what I need. I need to feel this way, because he's the kind he thinks it, but he doesn't say it all the time. And he'll even say, like, you know, I was just over here thinking how beautiful you are. I should probably say it out loud. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Say it out loud. But I think it's really about your mindset. I really, really do. And I think for a lot of empaths, it's about really starting to feel sexy in your body and asking yourself what that requires. Does that require you to exercise more? Does that require you to change your eating habits? Does that require you to use lotion every day? Does that require you... Part of what makes me feel like a juicy mango is I wear makeup every day. And I don't wear it for anybody else. I wear it for myself because I feel like a sexy, juicy mango when my makeup is on. So I even wear makeup on the weekends. And I don't go live on camera on weekends. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. And so I would love for you to identify 5 things that make you feel like a juicy mango, other than orgasms. Although I will tell you something, orgasms every day are so important for you. If I had energy to write any more books right now, I'd write a book about it. It affects how sexy you feel, how creative you feel, how strongly you manifest what you seek in your life. It affects how connected you feel to other people. It affects how you breathe. It affects your central nervous system. It affects your digestion. It affects everything. So don't underestimate the importance of that. Colleen said she was finding this journey the most difficult to connect with. She was able to drop into our pre-journey imagery with pulling up desire through the root chakra. But once we started into the sound meditation, she was antsy and she found it hard to stay in the moment. There are guides you won't connect with, but I will tell you that that's a sign to me you need to do more work with sound. Because for a lot of us, that the sound is what takes us really deeply in. And so I would love to see you either get a singing bowl. I always tell people go on eBay because I don't have them to sell you. But go on eBay and get a singing bowl. Or play singing bowl videos on YouTube. You need to work more with sound, Colleen, is what I'm getting for you. And then you'll find it to be an easier way in. And that's okay. I will tell you something, because you said you haven't consciously integrated anything from that part of the journey. Girl, the subconscious integration, you have to really remember that, you guys. It's so easy for us to fall into the trap of I didn't get anything, or I didn't do anything, or it didn't work for me. A lot of your processing is super, super, super subconscious, so far below your ability to consciously know what's happening that if you counted on that, you'd never think it happened. So give yourself a lot of credit for what's happening under the hood. Do you know what I mean? Because and then you'll look 6 months from now and you'll see that the outside of the car is really changing too, but it's because it's changing under the hood right now. You can't see it, but it's happening. The biggest sign that shifting is happening in your life is your relationships and how people are reacting and responding to you. And some of them are just going to leave your life too. And that's okay. Trust the universe when it takes somebody away from you. I really resisted one in the last year. I was like, ugh. And the message I got back was, it would have been worse if you'd waited. Trust us to take people at the right time and the right way. So Lori Gerard said, I think there's a negative energy that's attached to itself to her house. She says she thinks at times how she doesn't want to be here. And she fights all the time with her husband. And she doesn't want to leave her house. She feels ill when she tries to leave. But then when she leaves, she feels a lot better. She smudges, she opens the door, she's done ceremonies, she's incorporated the Lord's Prayer. That's really interesting, Lori. I'm kind of feeling into what Spirit wants me to tell you about that. One of the things you can do is visualize a beautiful white pillar of light, almost like a huge quartz point, descending from the sky down over your home. And you can call in Archangel Michael to guard that pillar of light around your home, asking that that pillar of light expands and includes everyone and everything in your home, in the area around your home as well. Yeah, I feel the sense of sadness as I lean into your energy field, Lori, and it's a little overwhelming. You need to ask yourself what would help you to feel lighter and easier in your life right now. And try to make at least one of those things happen for yourself. What would make you feel lighter and easier in your life today? And I will sit with this question too, and if other insights come to me for you, I will let you know. But I really appreciate you asking the question. Give it time is the other message I'm being told to tell you. You can also ask that the blood of Jesus wash over your home. That's a very healing, cleansing, purifying. If you cover your home in the blood, that is one of the most extreme forms of protection you can summon. And so you can visualize doing that as well. Amen. For you. And then Rose asked, what's the best way to distill the herbs to add their properties to a balm without actually adding the herb? How do I get the consistency of SG body butters? Love your body butters, and I'm in need, and yours are out of stock. Maybe we need to do a body butter making class. I like to warm up a good carrier oil. Jojoba is okay. Olive oil is okay. And you're not boiling this. You're just warming it, and put your herbs in there for like a couple of hours and let it just warm in there. And then put all of that into a bottle and put that at the back of a cabinet where it's nice and dark. Again, for maybe another month or two, make sure all of the herbs are covered by the oil. And after, I would say, another couple of weeks, take the herbs out and let the oil continue to kind of sit. You don't have to make a lot. I'm not talking about you can use like a mason jar, right? And that's how you'll get a distilled oil. It's not going to have a strong scent, but it will have the energetic properties, and you can add that to a body butter. And it really depends on what kind of butters you're using. Some of them are thicker than others. I just got a couple of butters in that I'm sampling that to mix into our body butters. I got a turmeric butter and a couple of other things. And the slip-on lotions and butters and ingredients is different. You want something more viscous, to be a little bit thicker. And so I like to look at, to cocoa butter in cases like that. Cocoa butter is nice and thick. And then you add some of your carrier oil, but not too much, would add the properties that you're looking for without diluting it. You don't want to use water, because water and oil, what happens with them. So thank you for sitting with me for 45 minutes while I go through additional thoughts and responses to the rest of the questions that came in. I want to tell you that I send you lots of love and blessings. I'm grateful for your presence, and I hope that the experiences that you're having are bringing a lot of meaning to your life. And remember, the goal is peace, not happiness. If your goal is happiness, you're going to be bored when you get to peace and not recognize that you've actually arrived in the place you were seeking to get. So with that, I'll tell you, amen, aho, and so it is. I look forward to seeing you soon.